sitting down today talking with Jeff about the talk that we need to have with our parents. So, Jeff, maybe you can help us out when it comes to talking to our aging parents about things that they need to put in place for the future. Can you tell us what is the most important piece of advice you would have for people when it comes to talking with their aging parents?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going through this now personally, and I probably can't get through a week without having talked to someone else who either just went through it, is in the process of it. It's fresh on my mind. But the key is to have those important conversations and to have those important conversations now, while they're able. If you wait too long, if you wait till they start to fail, then it's going to be too late. And the key is to get in there and approach them while they have all their mental faculties. The big issue that we're dealing with, people that are of our generation, our parents are in their 70s and 80s, and they're of the generational demographic that doesn't tend to focus on estate planning. It's
Right.
unnecessary. They don't like to think about it. So it's up to us as their children to have those conversations, to force that and get in there. So that's the best advice right now is not to wait. Have those important conversations, and go from there.
All right. And when we're having those conversations, part of that, you hear the term a lot, oh, you got to get your affairs in order. What does that actually look like when we're having those conversations, getting your affairs in order?
Right. So it's going to vary for everybody, but the bottom line, it's a two-pronged approach. One is making sure that you are putting in place today those things that are going to allow you to take care of and assist with your parents' financial needs, their health needs, their daily living needs. And that it requires a good number of documents and a good bit of foreplanning, so that when you get to that situation, you're not scrambling and you're ready to go. That's the primary focus, in my opinion, for getting your estate plan together, getting your affairs in order, is making sure that you have the durable power of attorney in place, making sure you've got the healthcare power of attorney, and beyond that, just making sure that you've contacted every company that you think you'd potentially need to interact with, to add yourself as a third party authorization. If you kind of think about your own daily lives and what you have to do, what accounts you're on, what vendors you're talking to, what financial planners you're dealing with, those are the things that you're going to have to do on their behalf. So you need to make sure you have the proper documents in place. That is part of estate planning, and probably the more important aspect of it. The other aspect, of course, is what happens to your assets when you die, and the goal there is ease of transfer and probate avoidance. That comes into place with a last will and testament. Sometimes a trust makes sense, but it's a comprehensive process that is similar, but it does look different for everybody based on their circumstances. Answer the question about what does it mean to get your affairs in order. There's two primary aspects of it, but the one that I think is the most important to have in place is the one that will allow you to help your parents with financial issues, to help them with health issues, and to help them with daily living issues. Getting a durable power of attorney in place, the healthcare power of attorney, and even just basic third-party authorizations, credit card companies, things like that. It's whether they're mentally strong or they're beginning to show signs of cognitive impairment, they will appreciate that you've put in place the ability to help them with their daily living needs. Things such as that your parents get a credit card fraud alert on text. They don't know what to do. They don't want to deal with it. So putting the proper things in place allows us to now contact the credit card company,
Wow.
arrange to have it canceled, arrange for a new one to be sent, stuff like that. Financial accounts, we assist um, my parents all the time with whenever their advisor needs to have their annual um, online meeting to talk about the accounts, we step in now. It's just a lot easier and it makes life better for them.
And you kind of mentioned a word in there that, I like to get more information and more details on. So we're mostly familiar with wills. So how does a trust fit into estate planning for our aging parents?
So there are two primary ways to make sure your heirs get your assets when you die. You can either do it through a will, or you can do it through a trust. It's a simplification, but that'll allow you to understand the differences. With a will, that doesn't take effect, doesn't become effective, doesn't spring to life until you die. That's one of the reasons why you do some estate planning, to avoid having to go through the will itself to transfer assets, because that makes things difficult.
Okay.
The other is to do it through a trust. And the beauty of the trust is it's a living document. It can be created today and it can be put into place today with a lot more flexibility in terms of how you want to leave your assets to your heirs. But the primary benefit for aging parents is that it will allow you to appoint someone to do all those things that I mentioned on the previous question through a durable power of attorney. But if you've got assets in a trust, if you put your bank accounts in the name of a trust, if you put your financial assets in the name of a trust and you appoint your children as trustees, it allows them more easily to take care of those things, to contact your advisors, to ask the questions, have information mailed to you, have your phone number be the primary contact. Everything that you put in place to make that step of the process painless and issue free. I mean, it makes it a quick process. You can do a lot of the things you need to do through a power of attorney, but it's much simpler, much cleaner, and probably a lot quicker if you have it set up through a trust and you're the trustee. So that's for elderly parents, aging parents. That's the primary benefit. The thing you hear most about trusts is that it allows you to avoid probate. The reality is you can set up most of your accounts in such a way that they'll pass outside of probate anyway. So I tend not to focus on that aspect of it because it's easy to get around that.
I know you mentioned kind of at the beginning of our talk here about our parents, definitely not my parents, but parents in general of our generation sometimes think about estate planning, wills, trust as, things they don't really need to be worried about. They think it's a waste of time and money and things like that. So if for those parents, how do you suggest bringing it up?
Yeah, that's a common problem. We're a society where if we're into instant gratification, instant rewards, and so here you are spending a material amount of money to get something in place that will have absolutely no benefit to you in your mind. You go in, you sign stuff, you walk away with nothing. You spent some money. So I think the key for parents of this generation that we're talking about, the key is to focus more on the benefits that it's going to have for the kids. That estate planning for your parents or for anybody, is primarily for those folks who are going to have to do the things that need to be done to help you with your daily lives, to take care of them, help them age gracefully, and the people that are going to have to deal with all the stuff that has to be dealt with after they've passed. Like I said, you think about your daily lives, the things that you do every day, every week. Those are the things that have to be addressed, and If it's not set up properly, that's going to be a nightmare. So I think, because I think our parents, or parents in general, tend to be less selfish. I think you kind of have to be as a parent. If you focus more on the fact that it's for us, not for you, um, I think it's an easier conversation for them to have, because they truly want to make life easier. That's the common thing I get from the parents is, tell me what I need to do so that we don't have to go through what we just went through a few years ago
Mhm.
for our parents.
Right.
That's the common theme. So that's what we're trying to do here is inform everyone that this is not something to ignore. If you've never had to go through it, someday you will, and you will hope that you went through that process.
That makes so much sense, to especially in today's world with fraud and things like that. You hear about it happening all the time to people. And I know my parents don't necessarily want to be dealing with things like that. So that's just an extra incentive, I think, to have that conversation.
Well,
I
at
don't
least
know if I've ever shared with you, but years ago, I remember when we went through a season of loss, and I watched my in laws go through this with their parents. And it was almost like relief, the fact that they had a folder with all the important
Mhm.
papers in it. And it was not scrambling and stressful, but it was all right there. And it made everything so much simpler, because if you wait until, it's too late, then you're already not in the mindset
Right.
to be dealing with these things. Now you've just added more issues to it. And you also brought up a point, as parents, I'm a parent myself. Of course, we want to do the best things for our children. So why would my parents not want that? So
Well, of
that
course.
to me just makes having that conversation seem a lot simpler. So thank
And
you for
and one of the
clarifying.
other things that we do, it until you go through it, or until you're asked to think about it, until you have to go, to look for the things yourself, it doesn't necessarily occur to you. But part of our estate planning process is to include, um, it's in a Word document form. It's an inventory of assets. It's essentially a place for you to document, for your parents to document, where all of their important documents are. What if they have, it may be more relevant for the younger generation, but if you can imagine all of the online accounts that you have, all the usernames, all the passwords, um, all these things, they're all of your digital assets. Even our parents have those. Typically they still have an AOL account,
Boy.
but at some point you're going to need to be able to contact them, cancel subscriptions, locate their account, things like that. So part of the estate planning process, part of getting your affairs in order, is organizing, putting things in one area, one place, letting everybody know where those are, and uh, making it a much more streamlined process, because the amount of data that you have to go through is mind-boggling.
It is. And, as you're talking, the more you talk and the more that you share. So, first of all, thank you for sharing this information. It just like light bulbs start thinking about, well, that works for me because I'm a parent. I can relate to that. And I have aging parents. But what about people who are single? And what about people who, don't have children or don't feel like they have a lot of assets? So I hope that you would be interested in maybe having more of these conversations where we can just kind of pick your brain. We can ask Jeff and,
Absolutely.
use these questions to say, "Ah, gosh, Jeff, what would you do?"
Yeah,
So
I mean, estate planning is critical for everyone, but it affects people in different ways depending on what your stage of life is, depending on what life events you've gone through: marriage, children, death of family, um, children from prior relationships, steps, all those things. It's, whether you're 18, just graduating from high school, ready to go and start college, or you're in your 90s. Setting up a proper estate plan is more than just having assets and deciding who you want them to go to. It's getting in place healthcare authorizations, HIPAA waivers, things that you never know when you're going to need, but when you need them, it's going to be too late.
Yeah.
So do it ahead of time.
Jeff, thank you for sharing all that information. It's so important for us to learn this now so we can put these important steps in place. For our friends watching, if you have questions, feel free to drop those in the comments and I'll make sure Jeff comes back and answers those, or it might turn into its own little chat that we can share with everybody. Because usually, if you have a question, other people have the same question. They're just afraid to ask. So, thank you again, Jeff, for your time this morning. We
Of course,
appreciate you
anytime.
and what you bring to the community here. Um,
And we'll do these on a regular basis. More to come.
all right, sounds good. See you later.
All right. Have a great day.